What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Wasn't actually planning on making a video this weekend, and if I were to, I was hoping it would be more of a vlog. I'm genuinely not trying to make my channel exclusively guitar, but maybe it will become that. Should I change the name of it? The Creepy Crawl? What does that got to do with guitars? Who cares? People use their regular name. Their names don't mean anything in guitar. So I suppose whatever is whatever. I'm still going to vlog over here, though. And I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this because I have very, very mixed feelings about this. So I belong to a Facebook group on Facebook called the Peavey Bandit Lovers or some stupid shit like that. I don't belong to a lot of Facebook groups, but um, I belong to that one. I don't know why. And there was a video of a guy talking about his 2 amps and touring and whatever. They mentioned this. This was coming. And I don't know how old that video was, but according to Sweetwater, it's new. I don't remember seeing anything about this. Maybe I have. It just ignored it, forgot about it. But I want to talk about it because I have, a lot of mixed feelings about this pedal. Let's start off with saying that the very first amp I ever purchased with my own money was back in 92-ish, maybe even earlier than that, was a Teal Stripe Bandit. I had the Scorpion speaker. I'd never owned the Sheffield, though I do think the Sheffield speaker sounds a little bit better. It's a little crisper, you know? It has more of that Marshall tone without being a Marshall clone. Well, I didn't mean to rhyme there. I guess that means I'm a good musician, right? No, I doubt that very much. Um, but it was my very first real metal amp, and I will die on the hill of saying that is the greatest thing. It is the greatest solid state sound making device that anybody has produced on God's green earth here. I know there are probably amps that you like a lot better. By all means, tell me down below, but don't be a D-bag about it. But the Peavey Bandit, it's not only revered in a lot of circles, but in my world, personally, I can't live without one. The one I had in Arizona had to stay there, and that's the one I purchased back. Actually, technically, it wasn't even the one I purchased. Me and a fellow high school guitar player purchased them around the same time, and we ended up in a rehearsal space jamming at this kid's house, and I think we grabbed the wrong. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was the first amp I purchased on my own. The amp I had before that was an Envoy 110, which I will be on the hunt for soon, and before that was a Gorilla, which I already own. But this right here, I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. The Peavey Bandit itself, locally, I can find you one all day long between $50 and $200. And here you have a little compact thing for about $200, which is, it's convenient. If you don't feel like buying another amp for your space and you want to try out the Bandit sound, then this might be a great option. But here's the thing. Ever since that famous Undercover Boss episode of Peavey, I understand the directions they have to take. Manufacturing in the States is a nightmare because idiots. You know, we gave China all of our factories and they sell us junk. And now it's almost impossible to manufacture here in the state anything of significance unless you want to charge an arm and a leg for it. I prefer USA made stuff, but I digress. Peavey himself has even said if you have to remake an old product, that means whatever you're making now sucks. It's garbage. And on top of that comment and what he did to his people, after promising them that they'd be okay, I don't know if I want to make a purchase like this. Me, you could do whatever you want. If you really want that Bandit sound, I haven't watched any reviews of this thing yet. In fact, I don't even know if there's any out there. I will watch it. Maybe I'll put in the comments below a couple of links or whatever. But let's talk about the pedal. Let me get into it so I can see it. So what you have here is, you know what, maybe I should have made this in a different way so I can show you my amp. But if you look at the face of a Peavey Bandit, you basically have these controls, but in a straight line. The only thing I'm seeing here that's not going to get you all the way there is the Peavey input has a low and a high gain input. And I tend to use the low gain. You still get all that Peavey Bandit balls, but it's not so. The Bandit can sometimes get like bass muted. It's hard to describe, and it makes it hard to hear what's going on. It sounds great, but if you don't mess with your highs and your mids just right, sometimes it can get a little, you know. And putting it in the low input tends to help that a great deal. And I don't even put my gain all the way up anymore. When I was a kid, it was all balls to the wall. I went in the high, the gain was all the way up, mids were off, and everything else was dimed out. But now that I'm a little more mature, I actually try to make it sound good too. So right away off the bat, again, this is not me saying this is going to be a bad product because I am curious, but my moral conundrums are telling me to stay the flip away from it. But the first thing I see there is that, and I was kind of hoping to find a switch or something on here that would help you, like maybe put one like right here, or on the side, or even on the back. I understand you're not going to put multiple inputs on a pedal. That would be unreasonable. I totally get that. Unless, of course, you're doing like a stereo out for panning or something like that. We're not going to go to the videos because it's literally just Peavey talking about his company and all that crap. But if it had a little switch for that, I think they would have been better off. But regardless, for $200, what you get is supposedly a dumbed down version of what's in my amp. And the fact that they're celebrating this tells me everything I need to know about my amp and how rad it is and how irreplaceable this specific amp is. Now, it's called the Bandit Supreme. I don't know if the Supreme wasn't that the 12-inch speaker or whatever, the Chorus Supreme or something like that. I would love to get my hands on one of those too. My buddy had one of those. You throw a delay in front of it. Sounds amazing. But I don't know if that had the same gain circuitry as mine. I can only imagine it would have. The only difference is that one had chorus and an extra 12-inch speaker. But regardless, all the controls are there. Let's go back to this so we can see the controls. You have your super stack. That's your gain. That's your distortion right there. Your post, that's your volume. And your body's your mid, your bottom, and the edge, your highs and lows, and all that. These become very significant. These buttons down here. Where's mine? I have them both pressed in all the way, but when I want to get more of a light saturated kind of bluesy kind of situation, I will put the super stat usually right about here, anywhere between these three, and I will take the shift and pull that out. And what that does is it tames the amp. It maintains the tone, but it tames it. The Peavey Bandit was a really fantastic amp. Still is. Still is. And the Trans Tube one was pretty cool. The ones before are iconic. Even the Bandit 65. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on one of those eventually as well. When I have room. I don't have room right now for that. But yeah, I mean, everything is the same. What I would love to do is do an A/B comparison of this, but I don't want to buy it. I don't want to support. Was it Hartley or Harvey Peavey, whatever the fuck his name is? I know he's a businessman, but that was foul what he did. And I guess you got to make money, even though you go against your own principles. In this case, the principle of if you have to remake something, it evidently sucked to begin with, or your new stuff sucks. So I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have you tried one of these? This fucking guy. I can't even look at his face without getting aggravated. He really did his people dirty. I don't mean to keep busting balls about it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll reach out to somebody and see if I can get a demo. I doubt I will with under 1,000 subs, but regardless of any of that, I want to know what you think about this. I would love to put this head to head with my amp. What I would do is I would plug this into the clean section of my amp, and we would literally do a 1-to-1 comparison. I will set everything exactly. I can't imagine this is going to sound dead on, but it might be just enough. You also have the differences between the two speakers. How cool would that have been if you had two little switches, one right here and one right here? this between the two speakers, your Sheffield and your Scorpion, and this one over here, high and low gain. And if they did that and sold it for about $300, because I know it would increase the cost. I know it would increase the cost. I think that would be more ideal for someone like me to want to try this. I understand $300 for something like this may be a little too much, but I don't know. There's a lot of us that have a lot of nostalgia. Every time my amp shows up somewhere, people are like, "Oh my God, I remember those. Those were so good." In fact, I could still picture walking into Daddy's on Route 1 South when they moved across the street in Peavey. And they had the Peavey, and when I say stacks, I don't mean just like the amp and heads and all that stuff. They had like stacks of all the different brand new Teal stripes, all the way from the biggest down to the lowest, smallest. And I walked right up to it, plugged it in, and said, I want one of these. I love it. I love this amp. In fact, I have to open it up and do some repairs to it. My clean sound, the volume, it's either all on or all off. I got to clean it up, and I want to get in there and get rid of dust bunnies and hit it all with the oxid. But again, for the 800th time, let me know in the comments what you think about this. I have 100 things I could say, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'll put this here if you want to pause it and read what they got to say about it. I didn't even want to bother. I didn't even want to bother. So here's the rest of the information. The Supreme features. Let's see, preamp, gain toggles. What? Toggle gain switches. That's probably the two little buttons. Yeah. 3-band EQ, all this crap. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Hey, talk to this guy. He's a good dude, whoever he is. So let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Thank you always so much for watching. I can't say that enough. And wherever in the world you are, hope you're doing well. Take care. Keep it real. And bye-bye. Long live the Teal Stripe Bandit, the greatest amp of all time.